The smart bullies dominate the entire NFL Broncos country. Get ready, because what I'm about to show you will help you understand why this defense is different from anything you've ever seen. While other teams need to send 6, 7, even 8 players to pressure the quarterback, Denver is bringing down opponents with just 4 guys on the line. And I'm not talking about a few sacks here and there. I'm talking about total dominance, numbers that leave the rest of the league eating dust. Stick around until the end because you're going to discover the secret behind this destruction machine that Vance Joseph built. Let's get straight to what matters. The Broncos have 22 more sacks than any other team since the start of 2024. Let that sink in for a second. 22 more? It's not 1 or 2 sacks advantage. It's an absurd difference that shows absolute dominance. And this season, the team has already racked up 21 total sacks, 5 more than any other team in football. But here comes the part that's going to blow your mind, folks. They're doing this in 2025 with only one game where the blitz rate went above 33.3%. Denver's overall blitz rate is at just 34.2% this year. That means they're destroying opposing quarterbacks without needing to commit extra rushers on the vast majority of plays. Look at how the team's weekly blitz and pressure rates stacked up. Week 1 against Tennessee, 29.4% blitz, 50% pressure. Week 3 against the Chargers, 24.5% blitz, 54.7% pressure. Week 4 against Cincinnati, 13.8% blitz, 37.9% pressure. Week 5 against Philadelphia, 33.3% blitz, 33.3% pressure. Vance Joseph perfectly summed up his philosophy in one sentence that should be engraved on the locker room wall. I want us to be smart bullies. He doesn't want to pressure and expose a cornerback or expose a linebacker. Every pressure they create is calculated and thought through with specific matchups. Can they pressure the quarterback? If they can't, how do the individual matchups look? It's a perfect balancing act, and look at the roster Joseph has to work with. Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen, and John Franklin Myers are elite rushers who can destroy any offensive line in the league. But having individual talent isn't enough. You need to be creative in how these 4-man rushes work. And that's where Joseph's tactical genius appears. Against Philadelphia last Sunday, Joseph gave a true masterclass in how to simulate pressure, especially on third downs. In 13 third-down situations, he showed 6, 7, or even 8 defenders at the line of scrimmage, signaling that type of total blitz that helped win a game in New York last season. The Eagles committed 2 false starts from pure psychological pressure. And on the other 11 plays, Denver's defense racked up 3 sacks and 5 pressures, holding Jalen Hurts to just 3 completions on 8 attempts and 2 first downs, despite sending more than 4 rushers only once. On one of those plays, the 4 middle players dropped into coverage while safety Talanoa Hufanga and nickel Jaquan McMillian served as half of Denver's rushers. And McMillian hunted down Hurts for a sack. That's art, folks. That's chess, while everyone else is playing checkers. A week earlier against Cincinnati, the Broncos confused the Bengals' offensive line so much that 4 players tried to block Allen while Bonito and Cooper blew past the tackles, looking to make the quarterback sweat. 3 against 6, advantage to the 3. That's not just athletic ability. That's preparation, film study, and perfect execution. If you're true Broncos country, subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss any moment of this defensive machine in action. Joseph made clear what the modern game is. The ball is coming out really fast from quarterbacks' hands. There's a lot of passing game happening. So it's fun to find pressures that can get home with 4 or 5 rushers and still have good coverage. That's the game plan every week. The defensive coordinator credits having certain schemes that can trap an offense in certain protections if you can decode what the opponent likes to do and when. Creating a free lane and bringing only 4 or 5 players is key because then you can have more coverage. When you're bringing heavy pressure, coverage usually gets really weak. But with simulated pressure, you can bring fewer guys and still have strong pressure, but with stronger coverage too. That's the point. And that's just film study. Joseph's coaching staff does an excellent job finding weak spots in opposing protections. They spend hours and hours studying every tendency, every pattern, every small detail that can give the team an advantage. Perhaps the most impressive part of the rush against Philadelphia is this. They sacked Hurts 5 times and still only let him run once for just 3 yards. That requires discipline and detachment, according to Allen. And look, Hurts is one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the league when he leaves the pocket. Keeping him controlled like that is an absurd achievement. Allen explained the secret. You watch the film and the guys aren't winning with the prettiest rushes. They ran to win that week's game. It wasn't about having sexy numbers or any of the win rates or anything like that. The guys really put their egos aside. And when you do that, especially with a group like theirs that's obviously competitive and wants good numbers, it just shows how tight they all are. Tell me, Broncos country, when was the last time you saw a defensive line as dominant as this one? Comment down below, because I want to hear your memories. Now Denver faces another dangerous runner this week in Justin Fields, who Joseph said is a better runner than Hurts. Fields has run 31 times for 204 yards, a 6.6 average per carry, and 3 touchdowns in the Jets' first 5 games in New York. Those numbers are scary. That probably means more simulated pressure schemes and more designed rushes to cage Fields. 2 items on the checklist that are easier said than done, but at which Denver's defensive line has been excellent this season. They have the discipline necessary not to lose their responsibilities while chasing the quarterback. Allen perfectly summed up why this group is so versatile. We have a lot of smart guys, so we can do a lot of different things. There are times where you see around the league that maybe the guys can't absorb that much information, and they get pretty predictable. But we can mix things up, and it makes all our jobs easier. Having Vance makes it simple for them, but also complicated for offenses. And that's huge. And that's the secret, folks. Simplicity for the defenders, complexity for the opponents. Joseph manages to design schemes that are easy to execute for his players, but impossible to decipher for opposing offenses. That's elite coaching at its best. Think about the amount of work that goes into all this. Every week, the coaching staff needs to study hundreds of plays from the next opponent. They need to identify patterns, tendencies, weaknesses. They need to create a game plan that maximizes their players' abilities while exploiting the opponent's vulnerabilities. And then they'd need to teach all of that to the players in record time. And the players need to absorb all of that, memorize their responsibilities, understand the adjustments they might need to make mid-play. They need to trust each other completely, because if one guy breaks his responsibility, the entire scheme can collapse. It's a level of synchronization and trust that takes time to build, but this group has built that. They have the chemistry, they have the confidence, they have the ability, and most importantly, they have the perfect scheme to maximize all of it. It's a rare combination that's producing historic results. 22 more sacks than any other team since the start of 2024 isn't coincidence. It's not luck. It's the product of hard work, meticulous preparation, and impeccable execution. It's the result of having exceptional players in an exceptional system commanded by an exceptional defensive coordinator. And the scariest part for the rest of the league, this group is still growing. They're still learning from each other. They're still adding plays to the repertoire. They're still getting better. Imagine how this defense will be at the end of the season, in the playoffs, when it really matters. The 4-man rush being so effective frees Joseph to do so many other things defensively. He can add one more player in coverage. He can have a dedicated spy for mobile quarterbacks. He can put an extra linebacker to stop the run. The possibilities are endless when you don't need to commit 5 or 6 guys just to generate pressure, and this becomes even more important in critical moments of the game. 3rd and long. 2 downs to win. Red zone situations. In those moments, having extra coverage can be the difference between a crucial stop and allowing a devastating first down. Joseph understands this better than anyone. The numbers against Philadelphia on 3rd downs were absolutely ridiculous. 3 of 8 for Hurts with only 2 first down conversions. For a quarterback of his caliber, at home, with everything on the line, those numbers are unacceptable. And that's exactly what Denver's defense forced. They made it impossible to play against them. And look, the Eagles aren't just any team. They're the reigning champions. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league. They have elite receivers. They have one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the game. And even so, Denver's defense completely dominated them in the passing game. That sends a message to the rest of the league. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how talented your offense is. If you face this defense, you're going to have a long and painful day. You're going to spend the entire game under pressure. You're going to have to complete difficult passes. You're going to have to execute perfectly because any mistake will be punished mercilessly. Fields is going to have his work cut out for him on Sunday. He's explosive, no doubt. He has a strong arm. He can make plays outside the pocket that few quarterbacks can. But he's also going to be facing a defense that's prepared specifically to neutralize his greatest strengths. Joseph will have a plan. He always does. And that plan will involve keeping Fields in the pocket, forcing him to make quick reads, not giving him time to find secondary receivers. It will involve discipline in rush lanes to not create holes he can exploit with his legs. It will involve tight coverage to eliminate his easy options. And with the defensive line Denver has, they're perfectly capable of executing that plan. Bonitto has the speed to turn the corner. Cooper has the strength to dominate tackles. Allen is a bulldozer that can't be moved. Franklin Myers is versatile enough to play multiple positions. It's a complete group with no weak points. This week's preparation in London will be crucial. They're away from home, in a different environment, against a team desperate for their first win. The Jets will play like their lives depend on it. But if Denver's defense maintains the same level they've shown in the first 5 weeks, they'll control that game. And look, Denver Broncos family, it's not just about sacks. It's about constant pressure. It's about forcing quick decisions. It's about making the quarterback uncomfortable even when he's not being taken down. And in that aspect, this defense is equally dominant. The pressure rates I mentioned earlier tell the true narrative. 50% against Tennessee. 54.7% against the Chargers. Even in games where pressure was lower, like against Cincinnati with 37.9%, they were still bothering the quarterback on more than a third of plays. That's unsustainable for any offense. When you're constantly under pressure, you can't establish rhythm. You can't execute your game plan. You're always reacting instead of dictating the tempo. And eventually that leads to mistakes, forced fumbles, interceptions, sacks that kill drives. It's a vicious cycle that this defense creates better than anyone. And going back to those smart bullies Joseph mentioned, that phrase perfectly captures the identity of this unit. They're bullies because they're physical, dominant, relentless. But they're smart because they play with discipline, execute the game plan, make necessary adjustments. It's the perfect combination of brute force and tactical sophistication. How many defenses in the league can boast having both of these qualities? Most have one or the other. Teams that are ultra-aggressive but can be exploited by smart offenses. Teams that are technically solid but don't have the physical edge to dominate. Denver has both, and that's why they're so dangerous. The trip to London is an opportunity to showcase this defense to a global audience. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium will be packed with football fans from all over Europe. Many of them will be seeing the Broncos live for the first time. And what a first impression this defense can make. Imagine being a casual fan, watching your first Broncos game and seeing this defensive line absolutely dominating. Seeing Fields being chased all game long. Seeing creative rushes coming from impossible angles. Seeing coverage being so tight that there are no easy options. That creates fans for life. And for Broncos country that's already on this journey, every week is confirmation that this team is special. Every game is another demonstration that this defense can compete with any in the league. Every statistic is more evidence that we're witnessing something historic. So, when you tune in on Sunday to watch the London game, pay special attention to this defensive line. Watch how they work together. Notice the small details, the adjustments they make, the constant communication. Appreciate the art of what they're doing because you're seeing mastery at the highest level. So, Denver Broncos family, which defensive line player is your favorite? Are you Team Bonitto with that explosive speed? Team Cooper with that brute strength? Team Allen with that versatility? Or Team Franklin Myers with that veteran experience? Leave it in the comments because I want to know who Broncos country is supporting. Hit that like button if you believe this is the best defense in the NFL. Share it with everyone who needs to see these smart bullies in action. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any analysis of this historic season. Until the next video, Broncos country,